What's up, YouTube? We're now tuned in to Start a General TV, aka Mr. Vagabond himself, and we in the building, you know what I'm saying? Alright. Today we got a very interesting topic. We're going to be talking about gender ideology. You know, we're going to be diving in, doing a reaction video on should children have, the access to, at an early age, to go and change their gender, do surgery. Without further ado, let's get straight into it.
So after a period of years, we came to this: neither of our sons is innately transgender. When we came to that decision, I still didn't see it as a belief system. I was still in it. Both of us had to the conclusion that our sons weren't actually trans.
The outspoken detrans train that has made stops such as Chloe Cole, Shapeshifter, and a number of other people has finally reached its destination, and we're hoping it's the last stop. We finally have parents admitting that they regret transitioning their child. This video was uploaded a few months ago over on my friend's channel, Trigonometry, and I wanted to talk about it today for a few reasons that I'll get into later on.
And it's contradictory because once children say they are the opposite sex, then adults lead them to gender affirmation. Okay, to concretizing that cross-sex identity and medicalizing it. But what I realized in those 2+ years of anguish was that I had led my child into it, and therefore I must lead him out of it. It is my responsibility. I would say the big
I'm just gonna start off by saying this, do you, I know we are living in a very, inclusive society now, where we trying to have everybody come together, accept everybody for whatever that they, they believe in or whatever they want to do, as long as it's not bothering nobody. I'm only curious about, what are the long-term effects, you know what I mean? Because it's you gotta think about it, as a little kid, or even somebody that's in the early teenage years or whatever. It's I feel the human brain don't even develop until the age of 28 years old. So it's the fact that we're giving kids the power to reassign their gender, I think it's just a little too much. You know what I mean? Just a little too much. But that's just me.
picture of my life is that, I, like everybody else, so just trying to figure out how to live a good life, and my own path that kind of really led me into being very involved with social justice as a young person, and then coming into motherhood, and how those beliefs and those views kind of shaped some of the approaches that I took to raising my sons.
Let's take a quick look at that article that she wrote. I came out as a lesbian and identified as queer. Then I fell in love and entered a committed relationship with my spouse and gave birth to our first son. She then talks about how she was constantly pressured by the left to look for any and all clues that her kid might be trans. So they raised both of their kids gender neutral. They took note that their first...
Why do people feel like a political party should determine how you raise your kids? What is I'm not trying to make light of this, but it's what does the right or the left have anything to say on how you raise your kid or not? You know what I mean? Last time I checked, I don't think any of the politicians, wake up in the morning time and be yo, let me influence on, let me tell you how to raise your kids. They don't even really care like that. You know what I mean? But let's get straight into it.
Born son was gravitating more towards females. At around 4 years old, my son began to ask me if he was a boy or girl. Instead of telling him he was a boy, I told him he could choose. Bad idea. I had told him when babies are born with a penis, they are called boys. When babies are born with a vagina, they are called girls. But some babies who are born with a penis can be girls. It all depends on what you feel deep inside. Okay. I was leading my innocent, sensitive child down a path of lies that were a direct on-ramp to psychological damage and lifelong irreversible medical intervention, all in the name of love, acceptance, and inclusion. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Kids that are same-sex attracted or legitimately transgender, having gender dysphoria, know that they are different. We just know. We have been existing forever, and we figure it out eventually. In this day and age, earlier than most, right? There is no need to be progressive in this way anymore. Just let your kids know that they are loved, and that's it.
You had 2 kids, 2 boys. The first one was quite gender non-conforming,
You know, another thing too is like whatchamacallit. I feel like I know in her case she feel like she's doing her child like a good service, you know, by you know telling them that no, you know, you can decide or pick whatever side you want to be. But it's like it's kind of like how can I say she's not doing I feel like she's not doing her part as a parent, you know, raising the kids the right way because I feel like in this world you're supposed to be able to give everybody the information, you know, whether it's a kid or adult, you give them the right information. And if they decide to do, take the proper information and have their own life experience and they try to go a different path, then that's on them. You know what I mean? Then it's like, as a parent, you know, you did your job, you know what I mean? And your kids just, you know, doing what they want to do. And it's just like, man, it's just crazy. It is crazy.
you might say. He's probably on the autistic spectrum, a bit different. And you raised him in this gender neutral way because you believe this is in his best interest, and everything was going fine. And at some point he says he's a girl, and you know, you have some reservations, but everyone around you is delighted for you of how brilliant you are. You're these brilliant progressive parents. Everyone's supporting you with this. And then your second boy, who is not gender non-conforming in any way, who's just a normal boy, he says he is a girl, and at this point, the light bulb goes off.
This is exactly what I've been saying. The far right, the actual far right, will use this in cases against LGBT people and say, look, being LGBT is about how you're raised. Obviously, that pisses me off since I am same-sex attracted, and I have never experienced any childhood trauma, sexual abuse, none of that. We went from born this way to if this kid plays with dolls, he's a girl, in a very, very small span of time. And it's worrisome. And it is indeed hurting, not helping most kids. And this is some of the newest shit on this belief front, the idea that childism is a thing, like racism.
You know, I want to say this, and I hope I'm not sounding very insensitive or anything like that. But it's also like, yo, you know, you're born into this world. It's like things already hard as, you know, it already is hard as if, you know, whether you're born, you know, with a silver spoon in your mouth or not, like just going through the daily routine of life is already hard as if, you know what I mean? So to like go and like introduce your kids into something like this at an early age without letting them like, how can I say, grow up and like determine for their own self on what path they want to pick, on whether they want to be with the same sex or opposite sex, or if they want to go through the reassignment surgery. At least, you know, they get, you know, if you teach them like, you know, one way. I can't even say one way. You know, this is a tricky topic. It's like, yo, you know, they got like a noose around your head. You can't say certain things, you know what I mean? But what I'm trying to say is this, all right? If you have a son or a daughter, you know, I think it's right to teach them their proper anatomy. And if they grow up and they want to go and, you know, do surgery and, you know, do a gender reassignment, at least, you know, they had the opportunity, you know, of you showing them their anatomy. And if they want to decide to change that, then that's fine, because at least, you know, they not, you know, you limit the risk of like the mental problems that goes on with this, because you gotta think about it. Allowing little kids to like, not even little kids, like teenagers or whatever, like, you know, young adults or whatever, to go through these type of gender reassignment changes. I remember when I did how can I say it? When I did a video with Joel on like should transgender and like and cisgender women compete in the same sports. Like I learned a lot. I know that, like, you know, once you go through these type of surgeries and everything, there, you know, you're at a higher risk for suicide. You know what I mean? Like this is like a very serious type of thing, you know, and to introduce it into like to such a young age demographic is just, I don't know, beyond me. And then also to be a mother of a child, and you know, you tell like think about it. She regrets it now. You know what I mean? She went from telling her little kids, her little boys, from an early age that you can decide whatever gender you want to be when they was, you know. And I understand that she was not trying to hurt them in any way on purpose. She was trying to be progressive. But it's like, you don't really need to be that progressive. It's not that serious where the politics should be coming into your household and dictating on how you raise your kids. I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? Like, this is just beyond me, bruh. This is really just beyond me. But teach his own.
And ageism and sexism, childism.
You know about childism. This term hasn't trended yet, and people aren't talking about this. I think it's totally valid.
Childism? What the hell is a childism?
Is the idea of, well, sexism, racism, discrimination against your sex, discrimination against your race. Well, childism is discrimination because you're a child. Like, for example, if a student were to come up to me and say, hey, Desi, I'm non-binary, can you call me they? And I told that student, oh, honey, you're way too young to know your gender identity. This would not only be transphobic, this would also be considered childism.
Okay, while majority of
Alright, I ain't gonna lie to you. I feel like this is the main problem in our society. Like, a lot of people try to be so politically correct or like, whatchamacallit, are so extremely progressive to a point where, like, we can't come together and meet in the middle. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is what separate, you know, people that are part of the LGBTQ community and the people that are, like, straight. It's like, you know, one day you wake up with one set of rules, and then a couple moments later, there's a whole other set of rules. It's kind of like, yo, no matter, like, you know, it's starting to feel like no matter what side, like, you know, you try your best not to hurt nobody's feelings. You try your best to bite your tongue on certain things. You try to be, you know, progressive yourself. And it's like, every time you get there to be to be more progressive, they add some different kind of rule. And it's like, yo, you can't keep up. You know what I mean? You just can't keep up. Childism. You know, and now it's like, yo, what do you say? You know what I mean?
trans people have been experiencing gender dysphoria, and it doesn't go away without treatment of some kind. Mostly have reported that they knew something was different about them around the age 4 or 5 years old. They knew that something was off at that early of an age. But keep in mind that this was all before gender ideology and all this shit was the forefront of the conversation in schools and in kids' homes and on the internet and TikTok. When I was 10 years old, one of my best friends in my class brought his brother's DJ equipment to school. The next week, every single one of those kids in that class wanted to be a DJ. When none of us knew what the hell we were doing, none of us had thought about being a DJ before. There are a ton of...
And that is exactly my point. You know what I mean? Because, like, yo, kids are very young and impressionable. They're like, you know, and some of you guys probably heard they're like mini recorders because they just, you know, how can I say, do and act similar to what they're, you know, the environment that they're raised in. You know what I mean? So it's like, with a little kid, they might say certain things, but they might not actually know why they saying certain things or doing certain things. You know what I mean? So it's like, why are we introducing this at such an early age to little kids? You know what I mean? And if you go and do your own research, you'll see that, like, when people that go through these type of surgeries, you know, and I'm not trying to bash them, but I'm just trying to say, you know, it's just something to look at if you are a person that's viewing this and thinking about going to do these type of surgeries. You must understand that, like, you know, certain people that do go through these type of surgeries are at a higher risk for how can I say, suicide. So to introduce this to such a young demographic, I think this is where I disagree with, you know, it's not even my thing. I know this is where I disagree with more so, you know. But other than that, you know, and another thing I feel like I disagree with is, like, yo, like, you know what I mean? Like, why is there so much, like, how can I, there's like so much different terms and set of rules coming out every single day. You know what I mean? Why can't we, I'm not saying we should have one single set of rules, but like, you know, make it easier for you know, for us straight people, you know what I mean, that's trying to understand where, you know, where you guys are coming from a little bit easier, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to understand the rules, but it's like, now they have childism. It's just like, yo, it's like, how can you keep up, bruh?
People who will do things like this just because it's trendy and it's new. This is how people are, especially kids, but people in general, right? So no, it is not childism to question this.
Not only am I not respecting their pronouns, I would also be discriminating against them because of their age. I'm saying they are too young to know what their gender identity is. But you can do this in other ways too. If you don't respect children's opinion, which are completely valid, that's a form of childism. Well, enough credit, because it happens all the time.
Kids are smarter and pay way more attention to their surroundings than people give them credit for. They soak up every little thing, which is just another reason why we need to be extremely careful what comes out of our mouths. Kids at 5 years old don't go to their parents and be like, Mom, Dad, I'm non-binary. Mom, Dad, I'm transgender. Like, they don't know what those terms are or mean unless somebody tells them that. What might happen, and what usually does happen from what my trans friends have told me, is that their kids will come to them and ask, Mom, where is my penis? Why don't I have a penis? Mom, why do I have a vagina? Where is my vagina? Those are two very different situations. One is clearly a buzzword or something that they heard in passing online, and the other is actually sounding like gender dysphoria. We've also had a number of whistleblowers come up in the last few months as well. This article is a little bit old, but it fits in with this video perfectly, so I want to mention it here. This person that was a lesbian, I think, that is dating a trans man now, or something like that, identifies as more left than Bernie Sanders, and of course, like I said, is queer. She wrote an article saying, I thought I was saving trans kids, now I'm blowing the whistle. In the article, she talks about her experience working at a transgender center in St. Louis, Missouri. During the 4 years I worked at the clinic as a case manager, I was responsible for patient intake and oversight. Around 1,000 distressed young people came through our doors. That's a lot. The majority of them received hormone prescriptions that can have life-altering consequences, including sterility. She then writes that she worked on a ton of patient intakes over the years, seeing a ton of what went on behind the scenes, seeing the life-altering medications, the surgeries that these kids were just like getting very easily. She said that she noted there was a 50 to 70% increase in female patients, young women, which was a huge red flag for her and for me when I started seeing these statistics come out, because historically, gender dysphoria in its real form is way more of a male mental health issue, or a male diagnosis, whatever you want to call it. She then said that she no longer could work there. All of this went against her do no harm promise, whatever that's called. This in fact was her coming out article, leaving the gender ideology cult, so to speak. The girls who came to us had many comorbidities, depression, anxiety, ADHD, eating disorders, obesity. Many were diagnosed with autism or had autism-like symptoms. We've been saying this. A report last year on British pediatric transgender.
This is like, it's I know it's like, how can I say it? And this is why I was trying to, like, you know, bring up. It's like, dang, this is like, these are the type of diagnoses and symptoms that it's gonna happen, and I feel like it's gonna keep happening because I feel like our society is not trying to have a honest conversation with each other. Because I feel like a lot of people that are, you know, either like people that are straight, you know, they're like a little bit they silence, they look over these type of things, and you know, they don't want to speak about it or bring light to it too much because, like, you know what I mean, they just don't want to get into that topic. You know, they want to be politically correct. And then you do have, you know, people that are a part of the community and everything. And you know, I feel like it's hard for us to try to talk to them, you know what I mean? Because we're trying to understand, you know, what they're going through and everything. But it's like, how can I say? It's like something new every single day, you know what I mean? It's like hard to really keep up with all of this, you know. But man, you know, let me know down in the comment section, what do you guys think? You know what I mean? Not trying to bash anybody, but it's like this is one of the really difficult like topics right here. But we're gonna keep doing it. You know what I mean, that's what we do over here in Star General TV.
Gender Center found about 1/3 of the patients referred there were on the autism spectrum. These are all things that I myself and other YouTubers, other people that are speaking out against this stuff have been saying for the better part of the last 3 years. Most people that believe that they are trans are more than likely experiencing other mental health issues. There were diagnoses like schizophrenia, PTSD, bipolar disorder, and more. Often they were already on a fistful of pharmaceutical medications. She also
So let's go back. I wanna make it, this is from coming out of her mouth. You know, and she did the research right there. So it pretty much is saying that, you know, for the most part, you know, people that like kids that not even know kids. I'm gonna say kids. All right, for the most part, the little children that do go along with these surgeries, they already have a previous history of having other type of disorders already. You know what I mean? And this is where another point where I find it very concerning in our society, because like we're not really fixing the problem. You know what I mean? It's just like how can I say? How can I say? It's like when you go to, it's like going to like the hospital and everything, and you know, let's say they just prescribing you medicine, but it's not really fixing the, how can I say, the real underlying issues of anything. And I feel like that's what the gender reassignment surgery is actually doing. You know, it's not really going to diagnose like PTSD or like therapy for bipolar disorder. It's just literally you're already having these type of problems, and then you go straight into surgery. At the end of the day, you're still gonna have these type of problems. You know what I mean? And I feel like this is one area that I feel like society should really be focusing on. You know what I mean? To fix it.
Bipolar disorder, and more. Often they were already on a fistful of pharmaceutical medications. She also goes on in the article talking about a few emails that she got from worried parents and doctors who didn't seem to give a shit about any of this after the patients were treated. Please be advised that I'm revoking my consent for this course of medical treatment. My kid's grades have dropped. There's been an inpatient behavioral health visit, and now he's on 5 different medications. They are a shell of their former self, riddled with anxiety. Who knows if it's because of the hormone blockers or the other medication. I revoke my consent. I want the hormone blockers removed. Thank you. This whistleblower was also told basically to get on board or get out, which is very cult-like, isn't it? Question, isn't it called practicing medicine for this very reason? Because as we learn new information, we can change our opinions on certain issues. These doctors don't seem to be doing that. Sadly,
And I mean, that's very concerning. Yes, that is very concerning that the doctors are not really caring. They just going along with it. But it's also like, you know, when you look at it from the doctor's perspective too, it's like, what can you honestly do? You know what I mean? You might not agree with it. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of things people do in their jobs that they don't just agree with it, but they have no other choice due to policy. They have to follow it. It's like, it's kind of hard. Like, imagine being a doctor and, you know, a mother comes in or a father comes in and tells you that their child wants to, like, you know, reassign their gender. And it's like, you go and they already took the steps to go through all these different types of testing and everything, and they finally do the surgery. You finally do the surgery, right? And they're still facing the underlying problems. It's like we live in such a progressive like world. Like, imagine a doctor saying, "No, I won't do that surgery." You'll be fired. You know what I mean? And it's like you damn if you do, you damn if you don't. You know what I mean? It's like, it's hard. This is a very interesting topic.
When you look at these new whistleblowers that are coming out, this new trend of people that are coming out saying, you know, they're all kind of saying the same thing. We thought we were helping. I do believe that's true. I do think the majority of people in this situation, in this debate, do believe that they're on the right side, right? Even though they're on the left side in that way. But they believe they're on the correct side. Even though the truth is slowly coming to fruition, I will continue to create videos like this one to prevent as many kids as possible from making these mistakes. Most of those kids are young women, and most of those young women are probably bisexual or lesbian, and that's why I continue talking about it, not because I'm obsessed with trans people as the far left would have liked you to believe. I've said it before and I will say it again, more and more people are not identifying with religion or even being one of those people, one of those types of people at some type of gathering, community gathering, and it's left a hole in many people's lives. So they're starting to look elsewhere for family, for community, for involvement, for making a difference. And that is how a cult is born. Specifically, the gender ideology cult. People who aren't.
All right. You know what I mean? I think, okay, I think I'm just end off right here. I think a lot of things were said here, you know what I mean? And I feel like I definitely do, I do agree with this. You know what I mean? Like, I do agree, like, there is like how can I say, especially ever since, you know, the lockdown, there's been a sense of lack of community, you know, you weren't able to see your family type stuff. So it's like, I know there's like an absence there, and the, you know, the wanting of acceptance and a, you know, a community that backs you up, which makes sense. But like, you know, we gotta also make sure that, like, just because they like, it's kind of like, how can I say? I see exactly what you mean when it says a cult. Like, it's kind of like when you're dealing with like the gangs type of situation. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, you grew up with a broken household or whatever, and you're just looking for like family. So you went and, you know, you joined the gang, which is, I'm not condoning anything. I'm just trying to show like an example to show that I understand where she's trying to come from. But I say to say this too. It's like, I don't understand why people allow different political like ideologies to get into their own household and dictate on how they raise their kids. I just think is absurd and pretty dumb. You know what I mean? We can't even really trust our own politicians. So for you to like take ideologies from like talking points and like bringing it home, it's just I don't know. But what do you guys think in the comment section? You know what I mean? Do you think you know, kids should have the rights to go along with these like gender reassignment surgeries still? Or, you know, and let me know what you guys think about this video down in the comment section. Oh, don't crucify me, you know what I mean? We're still learning. You know, we ain't trying to offend nobody, you know what I mean? So hopefully I didn't say anything too like crazy or anything to offend nobody. Yeah, I didn't take the chill pill. I'm still learning, just like how you guys are still learning. You know what I mean? Just give us a chance. But without further ado, you know, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. You know, hit the post notification. You know, so you know when I'm dropping my videos. Of course, you know, be easy out here. We off this.